We appreciate all of the guests who have appeared on our show and sincerely thank them for providing you, our audience, with useful information. However, the advice our guests provide is theirs, and we encourage you to seek out a professional if you have specific questions about any topic we cover on the Crushing Debt podcast. On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt podcast, Feng Shui to crush debt.
Welcome to the Crushing Debt Podcast with your host, Florida attorney Sean Yesner, where our goal is to help you get rid of the financial bullies in your life.
So welcome back to the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Sean Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law. And again, I have a really interesting guest for you for this week's show. Now, real quick, before I get to my guest, I do want to talk about my sponsor, which I do at the beginning of every show. So Sam Cohen with Attorneys First Insurance. He writes E&O insurance, malpractice insurance for attorneys and title companies all over the state of Florida, all over the country. And so if you are looking, if it's time to renew your malpractice insurance and you are an attorney or title company, reach out to Sam at attorneysfirst.com or www.attorneysfirst.com. And if you're really just a fan of the show and a supporter of the show, one way you can help us out is by introducing attorneys and title companies to Sam. And again, Sam at attorneysfirst.com or attorneysfirst.com, and he will give them an apples to apples quote. He can write insurance almost anywhere in the country. I know he's licensed in Florida and a bunch of other states, and if he's not licensed in a particular state, he can either refer it or become licensed in that state. However, I want to get to my guest this week on this week's show, which I'm really excited about. So she is a Feng Shui expert, a manifesting magnet, an alchemist, a healer, a spiritual nomad, and a real-life Irish Celtic Shaman. Some people call her the Mary Poppins of Prosperity, Abundance, and Peace of Mind. And so welcome my guest this week, Patricia Lohan. Welcome, Patricia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
So I guess my first question really right out of the gate, what I know about Feng Shui is it's the way that a space is designed to create positive energy. That's really all I know about it. So I'm sure I'm wrong, because if you ask my wife, I'm wrong about a lot of things. But what is Feng Shui?
Okay, so first of all, how you did describe it is one aspect of Feng Shui. That is like one part of it. So you're not like 100% wrong, and you're actually, that's how I would say 99% of people would think Feng Shui is about placement of furniture and setting up the place to, look and feel good. For me, I like to describe Feng Shui as acupuncture for your environment or your home. So in more recent times, Feng Shui has become, or acupuncture and Chinese medicine has become so much more prevalent. And when Feng Shui first came from the east to the west, it was actually introduced mostly into big corporates and lots of huge businesses. So every Whole Foods across America is Feng Shui'd. Also Bank of America, lots of hotels, Disney. So there's a lot of big businesses and corporations using Feng Shui to optimize their environment. But we know those big companies, they're actually really interested in the bottom line and the profits. And Feng Shui is a big focus of it. And when you translate it into kind of English, it means good health. So everyone who's in the space, in the environment feels healthy, well, good, happy, and also good wealth. So it really boils down to making sure that your home, your environment is supporting you, your bank account, and everybody in it.
So is there any sort of relationship or analogy? I know a lot of people talk about the law of attraction, which mm-hmm. I think we're all just talking about positive energy and attracting what you want to attract. It's that kind of concept as well.
I love that, but actually Feng Shui is a much more practical, tangible, implementable than the law of attraction. I'm a huge fan of the law of attraction and anything to do with manifesting, but I see Feng Shui as like the missing piece of the jigsaw. So a lot of people will think, okay, I want to manifest this money and I'm going to sit here and manifest. But when people find me, they realize that there's something that's holding them back, and actually it can be the energy of your home, because some houses are actually designed and it's not even the physical design of it. It's more based on the energy of the house, not the look, the feel, the interior. It's much more based on kind of the look of the house. So for example, when Ken and I, my husband is also a Feng Shui master, and when we both decided to kind of go follow this path, like I Feng Shuied my apartment to call in love. I met my husband, and I'd been doing loads of law of attraction and manifesting kind of things as well, wanting to call it what I wanted, but I set my environment up and I did the Feng Shui. So both of us decided to do this, follow this path just out of interest. And very soon after I'd implemented all of the Feng Shui remedies, so like an acupuncturist, she puts needles in your body to make you feel better and get everything running. Similar concept, there's specific things we put into people's homes to really balance the energy. After I did that, I had an unexpected 6-figure windfall. And the same week when we were doing our training, one of our Feng Shui masters said to my husband, did you have financial difficulties last year? And Ken had been working for a company that hadn't paid him for 6 months. So, and then she said, I bet you it all got sorted out in like March. And we were like, how did she know? Like looking at our plan, like the energies of like what was going on, the numbers. It's like a very complex. I think accountants like really like the idea of like I run numbers and do calculations. Like it's not like I walk into a house and a building and go, oh, this feels really nice, and I'm like this. Oh, I'm going to just channel. And I think that's where the manifesting thing. A lot of people think it's just like you just sit and it just flows into your lap. Whereas for me, when I work with clients, like we have a lot of information to take from the house for the buildings to analyze what's going on energetically, and then we run these numbers and calculations, and it kind of gives us a forecast of like, well, this house is, could veer towards people having a divorce, or this house is really jinxed with money. And the nice thing as a consultant is I can say, well, the reason that these things aren't happening is because of this. Just like she said to my husband, did you have financial difficulties? And we were like, how did you know? That's how I now know when I see when I do run these numbers. And then I go, it's all fixable. So that's the really nice thing. And you don't really, once it's done, and things start to unfold. And we talked about at the beginning, like what would be the title, or what we just say was about Feng Shui crushing debt. And we've had that with many of our clients coming to us who are trying everything, they're doing the work, they're trying everything to, get things flowing, and they just can't. And they're like tearing their hair out going like, what the hell, am I jinxed? Like, how does it get worse than this is often the line I would have been hearing, to us saying, well, your house is, not supportive for money. You need to fix it like this. And when they do it, they're out of debt, they become debt free. We've had so many clients become financially free, pay off their mortgages early, have significant windfalls like I did. And yeah, it's down to the house.
So there's a ton of stuff in there I want to follow up with.
I know. Sorry, I go up and I roll. I'm like, I love this stuff.
So one of the things, and you kind of took the wind out of my sails, but one of the things that I was going to say was when I bought my current house that I'm in now, when I bought my first house, when I decided to buy my new car, it was one of those things that I walked into the house and I said, yeah, I can see myself living here, or yeah, I love the setup of the internal of the car and I can see myself driving it. But Feng Shui is more, from what your description is, it's actually after that or more than that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally. And you know what, like that is what I find with that is like when people come in and I feel a house and they're like, feels like the right house, it can be very much, aligned with you, like from a manifesting, it can be very much like it's a match, it's a match and you feel really good. But I recently had a lady on my podcast, Amy, who's built a multi-million-dollar business. And one of the house, she kind of shared her story of one of the houses that she'd moved into, they lost everything. Like she just lost everything. She moved into this house that was like super expensive, like really luxury. Like it was just like in the best area. but they just lost everything. Like she was like, they had their friends kind of had to bail them out. And since then she's like built this multi-million-dollar business. But she was like, it all changed when we moved into this house, and it can literally be that dramatic for people. Like they just kind of move house, and it could be their dream home, and it's not supportive. So, you know, for people, if you are buying a new house, like one of the things I do say to people is, you know, what happened to the people who are leaving? Like what happened to the people who are moving out? Or, you know, why is it for sale? And that can be a good, you know, if they've sold up because they've just like won the lotto or had a huge success and they're upgrading, you're like, oh, this is a good sign. It's a good sign.
Well, and that was when we bought our house. It was a family of 4, and my wife was pregnant with our first at the time, and it was a family of 4, I think, with a 5th on the way, and they were upgrading and they needed a bigger house. And so that was, but I can remember walking into houses and saying, the people in this house are getting divorced. I could feel it when I walked into that house. But that's more the manifestation. I do want to give people your contact information real quick, but you also mentioned you have a podcast. What's your podcast?
My podcast is called Live Your Dreams Awake.
Okay. So again, if you want to subscribe to that podcast, I assume it's everywhere. Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, all of them. Okay.
I just record them and then they just go everywhere.
Sort of like I do here. Okay, so Live Your Dreams Awake. And then if you want to contact Patricia, it's patricialohan.com/money, which we'll get into here in a minute. But the other question I had is, how do you become a Feng Shui master? What is that process?
So I actually got my first books about Feng Shui when I was 15. So I've been into this for a long time. You know, I just, for some reason, and now when I reflect back, we moved house a lot growing up. And there was one particular house, because we've been talking about money a lot on this one. And I did talk Feng Shui is about health as well, like the health of the people in the house. And the house that we'd moved into when I was around 15, it was a huge, amazing upgrade for my family into the posher area, better, like everything was nicer and fancier and plusher. My parents' business was doing great at the time. And everybody started having drama, like lawsuits, sickness, health issues. Like it was just like, what's just happened to this family? And that's when I got my first books about Feng Shui. And I didn't join the dots. I just felt called to it. And I started Feng Shui in my own bedroom. And then in my 20s, I quit everything, moved to India and became a yoga teacher. And when I got back to Ireland to start my business, I decided, that Feng Shui stuff. So I started Feng Shui in my apartment, and that's when I met Ken. And then we decided to do it for our house here. And then all of a sudden, people started, like, they could see. I went from cycling around Dublin on a bicycle, earning €5 for a yoga class, to having a new car, to be living in $1 million home in the mountains. And they're like, what's this? Like, what have you done? And I was like, well, this is Feng Shui, you know, I love them. So that's like, people then started asking me. So when we did the training, and our own training, we did it for ourselves. And it became like, it's just so interesting because there's a real, there's the calculations and the analysis part. And we were getting the results for us. And then we pivoted into doing it online when we moved away to Bali. And that's how it happened. Like, we did the training. I've had lots of teachers. That time when I was in Dublin in the apartment, you know, when the students ready, the teacher appears, like 3 Feng Shui masters came to Dublin within the time that I was just like, I need to learn about it. So that's how it happened. And we've been doing it ever since for, I don't know, like maybe we've been doing professionally for 8 years now. And it's been absolutely mind blowing.
Wow.
Yeah. The results. And, you know, we, in the beginning, we had our own results, and now I can just talk about my clients and be like, oh yeah, well, this woman wanted visibility and she's been on TV 15 times since she hired me. Or, you know, this woman lost her business last year, but now she's made 400K this month. You know, we really see these like a massive transformations in people's lives. So it's fun. Like, I love it. And I'm like, it's not about me anymore. It's just about like the results that we get.
Right. So again, it's patricialohan.com/money. So I want to start to turn to it. This is the Crushing Debt podcast. So how do we start to use this stuff. One question I had though, you're in Ireland, and I assume with Zoom and the technology we have today that you work with people regardless of where they
We
are.
have clients all over the world. Yeah. So yesterday I had a client in Florida. I have one in London. I have clients like literally everywhere. We've created an online program and built software for people to be able to submit everything to us and do the analysis online. And it's really an empowering version of Feng Shui. Really kind of take action yourself as we show you how to do it nice and simple, easily, and get amazing results.
Okay. So here's the question, and I'm debating whether I want to ask the question this way or not.
Go for it.
So this is no disrespect intended, but I want to figure out how to use this to help people crush their debt. And you know, the skeptic would say, you know, are you really telling me if I move the plant from that corner to that corner that I'm going to make a ton of money? Is that really how it works?
Well, this year, do not have a plant in the southeast part of your home.
Okay.
Okay. That's just all I have to say to you. So I'm not saying that you'll make money if you do move the plant, but this year in southeast area, do not have a plant in the southeast. So if you know where your southeast part of your home is, just remove plants.
Okay.
So that may not be the debt crushing tool, but it definitely will not. It will definitely alleviate it. Yeah. If you have a plant there, it'll create more havoc.
And so my question really is, how do we use this to make more money, eliminate more debt, get more money flowing into our lives? How do we use this to do that?
So there's a few simple things. For me, when people work with me one-to-one, it's obviously more complex. I need a lot more information. But for you today listening, getting started, the very first thing I would say to people is to open their eyes to their physical environment, like literally to their house, and start saying like, what's here that is broken? Like if stuff is not working around you or broken, it is literally depleting the energy of the space. And even if you're like, I can't afford to replace it, I'll make do with the broken one. I would prefer you to be like, I'm just going to let it go and start to make space, because anything that is broken or not working is just literally affecting your own personal energy and the energy of your house. The second thing I would say is get yourself fixing any leaks, any little drips of money, any drips, like literally it is money dripping away. So go around your house and look for any taps, any little places that water could be dripping somewhere, and get it fixed. Water is connected to money. And you can be listening to this going, oh, whatever. We've seen such huge changes, just tiny tweaks around where money can be leaking. Now, that's one thing, the money leaks. Look at your wallet, look at your actual wallet. Is it broken? Does it look good? This is the thing you're carrying your money around with. Like actually go upgrade. Like this is what you're using for carrying your money, for paying everybody. I want you to have a beautiful, nice wallet that makes you feel good, that there's space in. So if your wallet is full of receipts and loads of cards that you don't use, there's no space for money to come in. So I know this is kind of like personal. I do it with my clients as well. I'm like, check your wallets, like make sure it's not got a hole in it. Anywhere there's like a hole or something broken or depleting, it's literally leaking like at money. When you start to move around your house, then this is the exercise I absolutely love. And it is the fresh eyes exercise. And even starting at your front door, like literally stand outside your front door and start to walk in and start to look at the space from a place of like, if I really want to start living my dream life and start to create abundance, like what is on the walls? Like, what am I sitting on? Is it broke? How does it make me feel? If we're just like making do with stuff that doesn't feel good, it's keeping our energy low. So for example, artwork. And I'll tell a story about an office that I analyzed for a lady once. And I analyzed her beautiful office. I'm like, I didn't know what I was going to tell her about her feng shui in her office, because I was like, it looks great. She had a great chair. She had a great desk. It was all set up really good. And next time I was like, tell her about that picture on the wall. So we're looking at this picture on the wall. And it's a winter scene with all snow. So I'm like, okay, well, the energy of winter time is hibernation, like slow. It's like there's no, his winter time is not the time you're like, oh my God, like let's flourish and thrive. So it's like seasonally, it didn't feel like a very positive, uplifting image in her office space where she's supposed to be like making her money and doing all creative stuff. And then I said, tell me about it. And she goes, oh, it's my ex-husband's. Oh man, seriously, like, get rid of anything that didn't work out in your home, like, you know, anything like that. And I feel like from that perspective of just, you know, if there's a story, like especially a negative story attached to stuff around your space, like let it go. If you have money stuff, like for example, like any of your bills, your receipts or anything, that store them in blue folders. So like expenses, store them in blue folders. We want to cool down the bills, and invoices or new clients, we want to put them into green or red. Like green is about growth. So start to just like think about the things that you have in your space and how it could be impacting your energy.
Okay. And that's interesting. We just moved 2 months ago. I just moved my office into a new space, and I can definitely feel in terms of how we've been decorating it, and like our conference room was totally empty, and the staff said, well, what do we want to put in there? And I said, well, let's get some, like, we're here in Tampa, Florida, and so I said, let's get some nice beach scene, let's get a water scene, let's get something with, you know, boats and water and color, and it definitely brought up the energy in the conference room when we started to do that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. Are there any particular books that you would recommend if somebody was interested in learning more? I mean, aside from obviously working with you.
Oh, I have a book called The Happy Home. And the reason that I wrote it is because people ask me like, well, where do I start? You know, so you can start like with, you know, and you've already, like for you had a positive reaction when you got to your home and you walked into your new house and you're like, yeah, this feels good. I feel like this is somewhere I see myself. Whereas some people don't have that when they move into their new house, and they have like a residual negative energy. So it's about building a positive relationship with their home. And then, you know, for example, like setting up your space correctly. Like there are some spots, and for me, if we're talking about the best places for people in terms of work wise, you know, I'm totally fascinated by you have your vacuum cleaner behind you. I'm like, where are you right now? Because I want to talk about your own office.
So luckily, when I record, for those that don't know, when I record, I use Zoom. And so we're talking on Zoom right now, but I'm recording on a desktop program. So I'm not recording Zoom. And part of that's intentional because I didn't have the chance to clean up this stuff behind me. But yeah, so real quick, did you write the Happy Home? Did I hear that correctly?
I did, yeah.
Okay, cool. So for me, gosh, this is like not brushing your teeth and going to the dentist. This is so. We have a four bedroom home, and so my wife and I in the master bedroom. We have two boys; they're each in their own bedroom, and then I'm in the fourth bedroom, which the vacuum cleaner's leaning up against a bed, a pull down bed.
Okay. Yes.
The desk is built in to match the bed. The problem is with my Zoom, I need to get a green screen behind me to hide all this stuff, or I need to hide it all from the view of the camera. But yeah, we just went through, and like you said, we shredded a bunch. So I went through a lot of my records, and I had bills going back that I had saved because I save all of our records after we pay our bills. We had bills and invoices that we had saved going back to 2014 and 15. So we just shredded everything going up to, I want to say we kept 2020, I think is the most recent we have.
Amazing.
But, you know, with all that shredding, you know, putting it in and actually I'll move out of the way. I don't know if you can see it. There's a garbage bag right next to the vacuum cleaner that has all the shredding in it. So, you know, we would get all the shredding into the garbage bag, but then if it didn't get into the garbage bag, we were vacuuming up the room. And you can still see on the corner of the desk some of the other bills I've got to shred or put away or whatever. So yeah, I didn't brush my teeth and went to the dentist.
Yeah, I'm so glad you cleared that all out. For me, with you, it's just because I'm like, oh, your workspace, you moved back to the door. So for me, especially like for people working, it's important that you do try and get yourself, you have a good chair though, so that's a good plus. But try and get yourself where you can see the door. And maybe even if you're sitting, if that's how you work normally in that space, to have like a little mirror on the table so you can see the door behind you and you're in a bit more of a supportive space. So you're not in that fight or flight, like, oh, what's going to come in behind me?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the desks are built in to, obviously match the bed. And so there's really not an opportunity for me to move the desk. But I only really work from home on Fridays. Fridays are when I record the majority of my shows and all that stuff. But yeah, Monday through Thursday, I go into my office and I'm facing the door. I'm not with my back to the door. Yeah, I'll make some of those changes. So, anything else any other tips, any other tricks to eliminate debt?
Yes. So, for example, like one of the things you're going to get in my guide, the Patricia Lohan /money, is a guide just about prosperity. And there's a quiz that helps you discover what your house type is. And there's 4 different types of houses. So you may be listening already and being like, there's houses that are good for money. And you're listening going, well, if I've got debt, all of this is debt. It's not that good for money right now. So you can definitely do the quiz to figure out like which one it is. And there's some talk about how to turn it around. But for now, the other thing is, and we talked about the Southeast area earlier, is that every part of your home represents a different part of your life. So the Southeast part of your home is your prosperity area. So if this is your prosperity area, I want you to go and find that area and clear it out. So I am so glad that you said you cleared out all of those debts and all of those invoices and bills, because holding on to that stuff is just creating stagnant energy. So especially in your Southeast area, you want things to feel fresh, you want it to feel clean, you want to feel it organized, and you want it to be like feeling abundant. So a little bit like that woman with her picture of winter, I would love you to have a picture of, something that feels flourishing. For example, I'm just thinking my own entrance, like right now when you come into our Southeast area, I have like a bowl of all of these fake coins and all these like little chocolate like money, just anchoring in like always plenty of money and abundance.
So as you were saying that, I looked up my house on a map. So my house does have north-south exposure. And I am right now, if I'm looking at this map correctly, I am in the southeast corner of my house. This 4th bedroom is the southeast corner of the house.
Yeah. So for this year, don't put any plants in there. Okay. And the same in your office, like don't have any plants in there. And I would certainly recommend bringing in something like metallic. So I don't know if you have like piece of metal furniture or a metal ornament or something metal into that space would be a good idea.
I got the microphone and the podcast equipment.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I'll get something.
I think you see what you think, but definitely this is your prosperity area. So if there's like a really wealthy person that you aspire to be, or, someone that like even your books about like wealthy people or wealthy lawyers, have all of that in this area. So it's like, this is what I'm becoming, for example, like my wealth area is at our front door. I've just got commissioned a piece of art to be painted. And it's going to have a gold backdrop and it's all like cherry blossoms in like full bloom. So it's this beautiful, rich, and for me, abundance really is connected so much with nature. And even here in my office, I have another painting that has like a field of bluebells. Like you just never see like one bluebell on its own. Like it's just a field of bluebells with all these trees. So there's a lot about like, and in your Southeast area, I would certainly recommend just like clearing out as much stuff out of there that doesn't resonate with, wealth, prosperity, abundance. Make sure it's nice and clean. If there's anything else nice that you can come in that feels abundant and rich, bring it in there.
Does that change at all? So next year it could be the Northeast, or next year?
No, your Southeast is always the same. So this is your prosperity area. So keep it nice.
That's weird. So now I'm starting to, I don't know, freak myself out. So my wife became a teacher, and she works with kids that are have learning disabilities or developmental mental developmental disabilities. That's the population of children she works with, and we were actually kind of worried that she may not get renewed to be a teacher in the next calendar year. Her diplomas are hung in this room. and she got offered to stay on as a teacher.
Amazing.
Okay.
And yeah, so they could go there. It's like when you have the diplomas up, it's really good and affirming, and even just the intentions, like, yeah.
Huh. Wow. Okay. So I'm going to get the book and I'm going to read, and you and I are going to talk more. So, as we sort of get to the end here, is there anything I didn't ask you, anything I missed, anything you want to add?
I think that, for people getting started, and you might be like, this feels a bit strange. That's okay. Like, it's totally okay. But give it a try. Like, there is no harm in like refreshing and letting go of some stuff in your home that's no longer serving you. Make your home become like a vision board for where you want. Get things fixed and working. Like, I've had clients who've been, say, for example, trying to sell their house for months. And I talk to them about like, make sure your front door is easy to open. Like, make sure it looks neat and easy to get in. The gate was broken, this was broken, they fix things up and the house gets sold like 2 weeks later. It's like little things around your house that could be friction points. Right. Get them sorted, and it's gonna make you feel better around your house anyways.
Yeah. I mean, even the idea that you said, make your wallet, freshen up, that I think also directly impacts debt, because one thing that I do is I take my card. I have as little in my wallet. I have, debit card, ID, some cash, and what I need. Everything else comes out of my wallet. Now, for me, it's a function of I don't want to charge up the credit cards and get myself in trouble. And if the credit cards are not in my wallet and I have the debit card, then I'm going to be, what are the chances this is going to be fraud? What are the chances, do I really need this versus putting it on a card? But getting those cards out of my wallet has the practical effect of I'm not going to run up my credit cards because they're not there. But then also the impact of it's fresh, it's clean. I like things to be minimalized, and so for me that's what I enjoy. So that makes a lot of sense. Well, I've
seen so many wallets. So I'm always, when you went to the grocery store and watching people in their wallets, I'm like, oh man, like. Look, and I think this is it. It's like we don't realize, like, to tend to the things that we have, like tend to your home, tend to your wallet.
Right. Okay. Well, again, if you want to contact Patricia, patricialohan.com/money. Definitely subscribe to her podcast, Live Your Dreams Awake. Pick up her book, The Happy Home. I really enjoyed today's conversation. Thank you for being a guest on the show, Patricia.
Much.
So, and like I like to say at the end of every episode, I hope that at the end of the month you have more money rather than at the end of the money you have more month. I think that'll do it for this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. Patricia, again, thank you. I really, really enjoyed today's conversation.
Thanks a million.
And we will catch you in next week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.
If you have questions that you think would make a great topic for a future episode, please email Sean or connect with us on social media. Sean Yesner and Yesner Law, PL, are Florida licensed attorneys. The information contained in this week's episode is not a substitute for legal advice. Your situation may differ, especially if you are located somewhere other than the state of Florida. If you have questions, please contact our office or contact a local attorney. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast.